What about build versus buy for non-technical companies? So those that have historically not really had a software function or a technical function of any kind. So you don't know how to build software. And so this is a lot more daunting. And historically, that would be why you buy SaaS software, whatever's available to you in your industry. Makes a lot of sense. Now, again, we're talking about a line here, which is call it 100K. I think you can actually come inside of that on a maintenance basis, but that's a realistic starting point figure to put in our heads. What would be the pros in that context of owning? Well, you can see I put ownership in both pros and cons, and that's because, well, ownership, it gives you all the other benefits that are on here, custom workflows and speed. Nowadays, with agentic programming engineering, you can whip up a new product relatively quickly, or rather a new custom workflow, new software to serve your business relatively quickly. So that's the easier part. Maintaining it, you've got to continue to do some investment. But the real benefit of ownership is that you can do that whenever you want. That's your prerogative. You're not, again, sharing with thousands of other customers. If it was a horizontal, meaning software meant to serve many different industries, then oftentimes you're settling, or you're even kind of hacking it to get it to work the way you want. Well, you don't need to do that anymore. You can just have the software you actually want. So those are all the pros. The con is ownership as well, because at the end of the day, the real reason, as AI becomes more and more powerful, the real reason you still need a human involved is somebody needs to take responsibility for that project within your organization. So there is going to be some amount of time allocation, even if it's just to oversee the AI agents that are building and maintaining that software over time. That is still going to be necessary. So we need to be real that is a cost. And then there's the question of cost itself. So like I said, this has come down quite a bit, so much so that I would argue we can take that off the list, because you're going from 500K down to 100K or less in terms of owning software and the total cost of that. And that includes that person who's just generally responsible for it, because that's the cost you really can't get away from. Oftentimes, even whenever you're using SaaS software, there would have been an owner, an owner of that software in-house that was helping maintain it and manage the use of that software. So now that time gets redeployed, so the cost delta may even be less than expected. But there's still going to be some effort involved, that ownership. But what we're seeing is that the benefit of having custom software that does exactly what your business needs. Before, when it was like $500,000 a year, okay, it's pretty easy to compromise and say, you know what, that's just not worth it. As that number hits 100K today and then falls below that as we move forward, now you could argue that on an ongoing basis, you might draw that line as low as $50,000 a year. Well, that could be worth it for a much, much larger array of companies out there to actually consider building versus buying.